Welcome to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. We reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work in a sea of fads. We explore the physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody. You are watching the Health Revolution, and we're excited that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and no matter which way you're tuning into us, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a tab for show episode notes. Have a look at that because we've got some important information that is relevant to today's episode. And I'm excited about today's episode because when it comes to optimizing our life, we know to achieve the physical, reaching new heights to take care of our bodies physically, but then also there is the element of emotional resilience and the mental mastery. This is what helps to unlock those new levels. Today, we're going to talk about what it takes to be on the path to self-healing, to have that breakthrough success. No matter where we are, where we're stuck, what do we need to do to break through those barriers so that we could start putting one foot in front of the other and reach that level of success that we all definitely deserve. So my guest today is someone who I'm excited to talk to today and for you to get to know. Take a look at this. Meet Tim Neale, an international breakthrough specialist, guide, and speaker. With a deep love for people and a passion fueled by his own incredible transformation, Tim helps individuals break through limiting beliefs and emotions that hold them back. After decades of feeling lost and stuck, he unlocked a new level of happiness and self-connection, igniting a passion for coaching. Co-founder of Rise and Shine Self-Empowerment, Tim specializes in helping people realize their full potential by rewriting their personal stories into magnificent heroes' journeys. Today, we will learn how Tim's unique approach to self-healing and personal empowerment can transform lives. Tim Neale, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
All the way from the UK. I'm excited
Yay.
about today. So first things first. So being a breakthrough specialist, obviously the getting to that next level is something that you're well versed in. And
Yeah.
I'm curious that what are some of the elements of your personal journey that has shaped you to be where you are today with how you help others?
Well, it started out as a child, as it often does. Nearly everybody I work with, it starts out there, the problems start. And as a happy kid, super into everything, wanted to know how everything worked, used to take all my toys apart, put them back together to figure out how they worked. Was excited to go to school because I thought I'm going to learn some stuff. My mom told me I was going to learn some stuff. And I got there and soon found out that wasn't what it was about. And I had a big question that I always asked, which was why? So if you said I had to do this, I was like, why? Well, just do it. No, why? And that question soon got me into trouble with the teachers. Then, very long story short, when I was about 7, I got a new teacher who made it plain this wasn't going to be the case. And then one day, one of the other kids, he went out of the classroom. One of the other kids drew on his T-shirt. He came back and he said, who did that? And he went, Tim. So he ran across the classroom, grabbed me, picked me up, dragged me outside and put me on the floor and said, sit there till the next naughty kid comes home. So I went home, told my mum and dad. The trouble is I'd been playing up at school for the last 2 years because I hated it and I didn't want to be there. So they just thought I was playing up again, to be fair to them. And they took me to school and made me apologize to the teacher. Now, the problem was that's the reality of what happened. What I saw happening was the people who I trusted the most in the world turned their back on me. And I made it mean all kinds of stuff like that. And it destroyed me. It absolutely destroyed me. Now, I'll be talking a bit about trauma as we unpack things, but trauma's what happened, not what happened to you, sorry, it's the way you reacted. So although that doesn't seem such a big thing, at the time I reacted so badly to it. And I ended up in this super dark hole. 3 weeks later, we discovered that I was telling the truth and everybody apologized. But by that time, I was having echoing voices in my head. I was having nightmares. I was having extreme anger outbursts. And I just refused to talk for 3 weeks as well. So that kind of set me off on a bit of a dark patch. And the rest of school was really difficult. I found it very hard to connect with people. I was very angry all the time. But by I was about 16, I kind of got the hang of it. But the trouble was, I got attacked again by a bunch of kids. So we got chased when we were uptown one day, and these kids all like cornered us, and they were about to attack us. But then they just went, "Oh, they're only kids. Leave them alone." But the damage was done. So now I had PTSD on top of all of that stuff. So I wasn't in a good way. Then I learned self medication. So I came across alcohol. So I just ended up sort of being drunk a lot of the time. I'm not drunk, but I used to drink quite a bit whenever I was in a stressful situation, or if we were going out, I'd have a drink before we went out because I couldn't go out because I was so scared of everything. And then that was kind of got into my 20s, and I discovered clubbing and the hedonistic lifestyle and all of the trappings that went with that. So I found myself medicating in a different way. Um, Now, in that way, I found myself, right? I became a dancer. I was a nightclub dancer. I was a DJ. I was a club promoter, and I found myself in that world. And it allowed me for the first time to see what I was capable of. But the thing is, I couldn't keep that lifestyle up forever. And I got to the point at the end of it where I was like, I started getting into self development and things like that. And then my girlfriend took me to the doctors. I got diagnosed with clinical depression. So then I went on this mission about figuring out how to get myself out of that really deep hole, because I used to wake up every morning wishing I hadn't, and that was just the place I was in. So I knew there was something I had to do, you know.
And I'm curious, the story that you told yourself back then, obviously you came to certain conclusions. And then based on that, you then were processing from the early days of being misunderstood, um, being told that you did something when you didn't do, and people
Mm.
looking at you differently. Did you have a sounding board around you outside of school, or was it something that you just found that you were just navigating as you went through? So you kind of ended up on the path that you've been on.
To be perfectly honest, I only know the story because my mum told me it when she was dying, because I think she'd carried the guilt of it all that time, and she never actually. I can't remember it personally. I can remember little tiny bits of it, but I don't remember a lot after that. It was just I had nobody to turn to. Nobody. It was the 70s, so there was no mental awareness. I didn't even know what depression meant till I was 31 and went to the doctors. And I didn't know there's anything wrong. To be fair, my girlfriend just said to me one day, "You're not a very happy person, are you?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm fine." She went, "No, no, you're not." And when I went to the doctors and he told me all about it, I sat there sobbing, thinking, okay. And I wasn't sad, I was relieved. I was like, right, okay, there is something wrong. It isn't normal to wake up wishing you hadn't woke up and fantasizing about ways you could get off the planet and things like that. But no, I had nobody really. Because I think it was misunderstood at the time anyway. I don't think there was that awareness that we have now.
So the type of dialogue that you had growing up, this wasn't something that you I'm curious if did you have support growing up? Was it just that your parents or that family handled things a certain way and you just kind of rolled
Oh
along with
yeah,
it?
no, I had support. My parents were lovely. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't their fault for doing that. They were scared of authority, and I think they'd have had to go up against this teacher. And he was a big bully, and he was a big man, and like he ended up getting struck off for like bullying kids in the end. But it's funny enough though. I look at him as my best teacher because without him, I wouldn't have gone through that experience. I wouldn't be sat here chatting to you. I wouldn't be doing what I do. So I look back at it now, but no, I didn't have, it wasn't really spoken about. Whatever happened wasn't really spoken about. I was just, and I don't know how much anybody was aware of what I was going through, to be fair. I just felt very alone and very trapped and very scared and angry.
So I'm curious, how common do you think it is for people to believe the story that they tell themselves, how they're processing, and then they just latch onto that and then it becomes a theme in different areas of their life? How often do you see that this is apparent, that it's just that's the story, I'm sticking to it, and that's just how it is?
I would say for 100% of people, it just depends what the story is. If you've got an empowering story that allows you to live a full life and a fantastic time and enjoy it, great. But we've all got some kind of story, and we have, the way our brains work, we live in line with that story and our beliefs and our identity and self-image and all of that stuff. But most of us have no idea it's there or how it guides us.
So your next big breakthrough, obviously you have a girlfriend that has told you, hey, this is, you're not very happy, and then you started to address it. What was your biggest breakthrough moment afterwards that it made sense for you to really up level and raise the bar on yourself?
I think going through the Tony Robbins experience, because it gave me an understanding that this wasn't something random coming from the outside and attacking me, which is what the doctor makes you believe, or what I was made to believe by him, that you just have to deal with it. It's a disease. He made me realize it wasn't a disease. It was a pattern of information and programming that I was running due to what I'd had to go through growing up, and but he was also quite mindset based, and I ended up doing like 13 years of mindset stuff. So I did Tony Robbins, NLP, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, Sedona method, Landmark Forum, read over 100 books, watched a million videos, listened to tons of CDs, showing my age, and some cassettes. And I'd learned to do what they'd told me I'd have to do, which was learn to cope. I'd
So
learned some coping mechanisms.
So you made a decision to go ahead and embrace several tactics that can help you, that you weren't used to, that you just
Yeah.
trusted the process. Okay.
Yeah, and I was managing it better. So now I'd wake up in the morning and I had some tools. I had a morning routine. I had all the other good stuff that you tend to learn along that path. And now I had some things that would make me feel better. I got, in your line of work, I got fit and healthy, which I'd never been, not since I was a teenager. So started going to the gym, started going for runs, started walking, started eating better, drinking water, doing all the basics. So I did feel better. I'll be honest, I felt better, but it didn't take much for me to be over the edge and all of that stuff firing off again. It didn't take much to get me angry. It didn't take much to get me depressed. It didn't take much to get me anxious. Still had panic attacks, still freaked out if I was in certain situations. And it wasn't that far from the surface at times.
What surprised,
Um,
what surprised you the most with how you were getting to know your future self, and where you found yourself growing? What surprised you the most?
I think it surprised me that I was doing all of this. And I think because I always tell people when I'm working with them, it's one of those things that it's a bit a pill to swallow, but it's also empowering. Because if you're doing it, that means you can stop doing it or you can do something different. If it's just happening or coming from somewhere else, then maybe you can't do anything about it. But because you're doing it, you can undo it and you can redo it and you can change it and rewrite it and do it a different way. I think it was that surprised me. I was surprised, why are we built in such a way that we would do that to ourselves? Because I didn't fully understand the mechanism and how it worked then. So it seemed like I always remember asking my mum when I was a kid, I fell off my bike and she was like cleaning my knee up and it really hurt. And I can remember saying to her, like, why does this have to hurt? Why do we have to have pain? And she was like, because the pain's telling you to pay attention to that part of you because it needs looking at and to not damage it again, you know. And I guess it was like starting to tune into the intelligence of the body and starting to understand that. But at the beginning, it didn't make sense and seemed a bit kind of crazy.
Is it fair to say that as you were getting to be at a stronger level of you, that beforehand there was a disconnect? So,
Hmm.
the fact that you didn't necessarily pay attention to things physically speaking on the body, or just what the repercussions were for things that you did, that maybe you just the things that caused, or the things that you chose to numb pain
Hmm.
or sensations or things like that. Is it fair to say that there was just that disconnect, that it wasn't anything that you paid attention to?
100%. 100%. And somebody asked me on an interview the other week, what do I think's the biggest problem people face in the world? And I said disconnection from themselves, lack of awareness, because no one teaches us this stuff. There's no training on it or anything. If you go through school, college, university, whatever, you don't get trained on self-awareness and how to connect to yourself and stuff like that. And it's the primary thing all of us need, because that's what I teach now, you know, and that is what really turned it around, you know.
I think it's funny because across the decades, there just seems to be this evolvement of how society deals with either the, say, global issues, but then also societal issues, like how we navigate, how we process things when, life, technology, how we interact with one another continues to change. And it's almost like when we look at each decade, um, there seems to be more talk, but then sometimes at the same time, tell me your thoughts on this. We seem to have a hard time communicating, or at least having that level of self awareness. So the more that we bring to light on the things that we need to focus on, like we have trouble describing, or we have trouble sharing, or we have trouble, especially between generations, that there's, it seems like each generation has operates a little bit differently. What say you on that?
What I see, and I see the problem being, is we gather in awareness and we're raising awareness, but we're not being given tools to actually resolve anything. So then you end up like at Tony Robbins, for instance. I went for a UPW for a weekend, and when I got there, I couldn't look you in the eyes. I couldn't shake hands with people. I couldn't hug people. I walked in with my head down, just trying not to connect. I left there on fire, like like someone had opened me up completely. I ended up on stage speaking, right, with a microphone in front of 5,000 people. You know, that was unavailable to me at the beginning. So now I've got all this awareness, and now I've had a little taste of what I could be. Within 2 weeks, that had disappeared. And now I'm even more frustrated because I've seen what's possible. And I see this a lot in, especially raising awareness around mental and emotional health. You know, there's a million more labels of everything. There's a million more diseases. There's a million more things, but nobody's actually resolving anything. So it's actually as if you're irritating people even more, because when I was little, it was just like, get on with it, which isn't that great in some ways, but in some ways, I just didn't have any awareness around there was anything really wrong. So I just got on with it. Whereas I see a lot of people, and I work with a lot of people who've got so much awareness around whatever they're struggling with, but then they've probably got too much. So then they're living into all of those awarenesses and expanding it and making it a bigger problem than what it probably is actually. And I say that with love and with understanding of what people go through, because I've been through it. But I know as soon as I found out especially what anxiety meant, I went and researched the heck out of it. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, tick, tick, tick. Oh yeah, I've got that. I've got that. And then I started living into it and expanding it. I found it harder to let go of it, because I thought of all these things I'd been told, when the mind's not the best place to operate when you're trying to resolve this stuff. And that's what we teach. It's very feeling based. You don't need as much awareness as you think you need. You need more tools to heal, because if you heal from it, you don't need to understand it. It's just not there, you know?
And the healing is something that I cannot wait to talk about. We're going to talk about self-healing and the different ways that you unpack that. First, we're
Sure.
going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Fit Bites with Adriana. Today, let's talk about simple stress reduction techniques to help you stay calm and balanced. Life can be very hectic at times, but there are easy ways to manage stress effectively. First, try deep breathing exercises. Inhale slowly through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and exhale through your mouth. Repeat this several times to calm your mind and your body. Another great technique is practicing yoga or stretching. Now, these activities not only reduce stress, but also improve flexibility and strength. Even just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Taking a short walk, especially in nature, can help clear your mind and reduce anxiety. Physical activity releases endorphins, which are natural mood lifters. Don't forget the power of mindfulness. Spend a few minutes each day meditating or simply sitting quietly, focusing on the present moment. Now, this can help reduce stress and improve overall well-being. Remember, managing stress is essential for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Incorporate these simple techniques into your daily routine and feel the benefits. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. My guest today, Tim Neale, all the way from the UK. He's a breakthrough specialist and empowerment coach. We're talking about what it takes to get on the path to self-healing, no matter where we are, and then growing to the area where we know we can strive and thrive. And Tim, before the break, I know that you were talking, we started to go into some of the elements of self-healing. You shared a little bit about your story. I'm curious, how did your breakthrough lead you to do what you're doing today in how you are helping others reach that breakthrough success?
So I did the 13, 14 years of mindset. And then my sister-in-law told me about this guy that had into work. He's an American guy called Tom Stone. And he'd got this thing called human software engineering, which was about processing trauma and incomplete emotions and stuff. So anyway, I went along, spent 3 days with him, and left with no anxiety, no depression, no panic attacks, no more grief that I'd been carrying around for a long time. And I walked out of that course a different guy. So I then said to him, is there any way I can learn to do this? So I signed up as a coach. And then he was my mentor for about a year. And then that was 11 years ago. And by the way, none of that stuff ever came back. And I never had to work on it again. It was just like the opposite of what I've been doing with the mindset stuff. It was so easy, so simple, and permanent as far as I could see at the time. And very transformative, you know. So it was like, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to do that, because I'd already decided I wanted to be a coach, but I couldn't do it because I was so terrified of everything and so anxious and used to panic about everything. So, and I remember looking at him on the end of the training course. I said, I'm going to do this. And he said, yeah, you are. I can see it. And I knew I was going to do it. So then I did 23 sessions for friends. And then by the end of that, I just took off, because it was just like the favorite thing I'd found to do in my life. You know what I mean? And then I kind of did that for 3 years on my own, and then bumped into, or Tracy came back to the UK. Tracy Hamilton, who's my business partner now, she's she was one of the helpers on the course because she'd been doing it a little bit longer. And we said to each other, I think we'll end up working together. So we got back together, found out that we'd both kept the same parts, both thrown the same parts away that we didn't like, and basically designed the same system. So we decided to join forces 7 years ago. So we spent the last 7 years creating what we call Trinity Coherence, which is our healing modality, and just having magical results for ourselves and everybody else.
Can you talk a little bit about what is the Trinity Coherence and what's the, can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so the Trinity are the three awareness centers. So that's the mind, the heart, and the gut, right? And now coherence means there's two meanings to it. The English meaning is for everything to be in alignment, and to be as one, which is partly what we do. But if you look at the scientific version of coherence, it applies to waveforms, and it's when the waveforms go in the same kind of they add to each other, so they make something more powerful. So like the opposite of that is like some sound cancelling headphones, right? So they take in stuff from the outside, apply a negative version to your music, and it makes that stuff disappear. So we are the empowering version. So we want the head, heart, and the gut to all be going in the same direction and all be aligned. And that's the kind of aim of what we're doing, and but we start with the emotional side of things, because the emotional side of things usually is what gets in the way of what most people are up against. And it's like, in fitness world, they've got that saying, you can't out exercise a bad diet. Well, we find you can't out mindset a dysregulated nervous system. If your nervous system's like highly sensitized and is in shock, you're not going to think your way out of that, because your nervous system designed to override your thinking part of your brain to get you out of dangerous situations and to deal with safety issues and things. So if people are living in some form of that part of their brain that's trying to keep them safe, it stops them
Like
taking that.
fight or flight.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
When the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and there's a fourth one called fawn, which most people don't know about. And fawn is when you cower down or people please or just do. It's the final resort to try and not have anything go wrong in front of you. So, but they're all trauma responses. And trauma, as the way we look at it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's just more than you can deal with in that moment. And like I said, it's not the thing that happened, it's your reaction to the thing that happens, and that reaction can leave scars. And it's those scars that are the triggering thing in us. When people say I'm triggered, it's because they're pushing up against those scars and getting those feelings that are bringing back the emotions and everything else. And the way we look at it is we use a little metaphor, which is the splinter. So if you think about a wooden splinter, big piece of wood comes along, hits you, small bit breaks off, and it goes inside. Now you keep people away from it because it hurts. And you also stay away from it because it hurts. And we don't like pain. Right? But eventually it'll heal over. So in a few weeks, you can probably touch it and it's fine. But if someone comes and grabs you on it, it still makes you jump because it still hurts and it's still in there and it's painful. Right? So emotional splinter, an emotion comes along, we can deal with so much of it, and we're kind of designed to deal with so much. But then if it's too much, this is what I call traumatic energy. It's like there's too much, just more than you can deal with in that moment. This energy has to go somewhere, so we shove it inside. Then we keep people away from it, and we stay away from it. But the trouble is, it never heals either. So if someone comes and presses you on it, and when I say press, somebody looks like it, sounds like it, smells like it, reminds you of it in some way. It's like, when you hear a tune or something on the radio and you're like, oh, wow, I haven't heard that for like 20 years or something. It's that mechanism that just takes you back. It's the same mechanism, right? But it'll take you back and it'll re-trigger the feeling. But the trouble is, your unconscious mind has no concept of time. So it feels now. So you just re-experience it again, exactly the same as when it happened. And then we have the fight and flight response kicks off. And that's kind of the mechanism that most of us are dealing with, that holds us back, that causes us to suffer, that stops us doing the things we want to do.
So what's the characteristic of, what's the difference maker for breaking the pattern of letting moments or letting triggers, letting situations just really invoke that such a strong response? What are some characteristics that have to be in place to then set that foundation to turn things around?
Okay, so it's a really easy answer. What's the best way to deal with a splinter?
Well, you want to, if you're asking me,
Yeah,
you want to wash your hands, and then you want to get into it so
yeah,
that you can address it and then extract it with the right tools.
perfect. So you've answered my question. You've answered your own question. So it's literally teaching people to pull splinters out, because there's another part to the splinter as well. In order to keep you away from it, we install programs, right? So those programs in the forms of beliefs, meanings, stories, things like that. So, like for instance, one of mine was I have social anxiety, because I stood up in a classroom around 6ish, and I thought the teacher had got a question wrong. I can't remember whether she did or not now, but it's irrelevant. So, but I stood up and said, "Oh, I think that's wrong," and she screamed at me until I cried in front of everybody, and then made me stand in the corner and think about what I'd done. I made a lot of decisions in that corner, and one of them was I will never stand up in front of people again. So things like this, what we're doing, we're unavailable. I speak a lot in front of people. That was unavailable. In fact, anything to do with social things. And what was really frustrating is when I was a DJ, I remember playing in Vancouver one weekend to thousands of people. And then I went back home and I went to my software job, and I've got 4 people that I'm in my team. And I can't run a team meeting with 4 people because I'm so worried about what they think about me. And so I had this huge sort of difference between those two things, and it got so frustrating. But again, I just created programs to keep me away from that pain. As soon as I pulled that splinter out, that just disappeared. I didn't have to do any work on it. I didn't have to reprogram anything or whatever. There's no need for the program because there's nothing to protect from anymore. And then I just found myself like, I had a few meltdowns at speaking things. I was part of a breakfast networking thing, and I was like, the trainer, suddenly found myself in front of 150 people, speechless. And I left the group I'd spent 18 months building and ran away and cried in my car. I just used to freak out completely. When I did this and pulled that splinter out, I was asked by my friend's business, could I go in and talk on a mental health day? I said, yeah, sure. I said, how many people? She goes, 10, 15. So they put my website on the company intranet and said I was coming to talk, and 160 people turned up. And but you're only allowed 80 in the room, so we had to do it over 2 days. And both days I was literally surrounded with standing room. Everyone was stood up, everyone sat around my feet and everything. And it was such a beautiful experience because it got to just show me how it was now,
And that's
because it was no different to sitting talking to you. It was just so effortless and so easy.
I mean, that's astonishing to see the growth. And I know that there are so many different scenarios where we find ourselves where we're frozen, or we have that anxiety, or whether it's in the work setting or just being around peers or specific events, as you mentioned, that that is suddenly it's the expectation of, oh my goodness, I don't want to
Mm.
mess up, and then what do they think of me, and all of that. And to your point, this is very powerful, your transformation. I'm curious, you and I talked before today about the 3 R's. Can you talk a little bit about the 3 R's and the significance behind that, how you teach that to others?
Yeah, sure. So the 3 R's are regulate, resolve, and reinvent. So regulate, there's a lot of talk now on LinkedIn and Facebook, and everybody's talking about regulating the nervous system. So what that just means is bringing it down into homeostasis, so it's just calm, so you're in your parasympathetic kind of nervous system. So that's the key of what we do, is teaching people how to take back control of that. Because it's that's lost control when people are triggered and you're in the fight and flight. But the thing is, the only reason that happens is because there's something unresolved. So then the next stage is we teach you how to resolve the thing that dysregulates. So that's literally how to pull the splinters out. Now, it's crazily simple. And I always say to people, you're going to say to me afterwards, is that it? Right. And every single person goes, is that it? It's so simple, but it's the exact opposite of what you would ever think of doing, and it's also because you're running, it's going towards it. Like you hear people say, lean into it and feel into it and stuff. It's that, but it's with a very specific protocol so that you feel safe to do it. Because that's the key. This is all about emotional safety, right? If you don't feel safe, your system will shut you down and fire that fight and flight off and get you out of there somehow. It might make you run away. You might start crying. You might get angry. You might go and play on your Xbox. You might drink some beer. You might do whatever. But you'll numb out somehow and not want to feel it. So we teach people how to safely go in and feel that stuff. Because then the magic of your innate power just takes over and heals it. It's not anything we're doing. And that's one of the key things. And this is why I have the difficulty between coach and guide. Because to me, I guide people really because it's not about me. I'm just a facilitator. I can't heal. If I was working with you, I can't heal you. I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what you feel like. I know nothing about what it is to be you. But I know how to guide you to be able to go and fix that for yourself, and to heal that for yourself. Because it's not hard, but it's just difficult to do if you've never done it before. So I always say to people, I'm like a PT for the mind. So like if you're training me, you can show me all you like, but I have to do the workout. I don't get fit, right? Same thing.
You know, and the one thing that I can't help but ask is why is fear such this this obstacle for us? Why is it that we are so fear-based? What are some things that you've learned about in helping others and just empowering others, but then also in your studies up until today? Why is this such a big bear to tackle?
Because we're wired for safety. We're literally wired for safety. And yeah, you can push through it. You can push through it. And people like David Goggins and that are all talking about that push through it kind of. And yeah, you can do that. And I did a lot of that. But like I said, I pushed through my speaking fear for a long time. But then when I got in front of those 150 people, I couldn't push through that. That was too unsafe for my nervous system. And my nervous system, as everybody's, is wired for safety. Right. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, which kind of illustrates the hierarchy of importance within the system. So it's like a pyramid, and the bottom level's your physiological needs or basically survival needs. So air, food, water, safety, somewhere to live, that kind of stuff. And the next level above are your safety needs. That's emotional and physical safety. Right. So if you want to see how that hierarchy works, if you take like air, food, and water, right, they're all important, but they have a hierarchy. So imagine me and you had done some crazy fast for 10 days and we were starving, hungry, and we're like, oh, I need some food. So I'm like, right, I'll take you out. So we go and sit outside the restaurant, wait to bring some olives out. You get an olive and you put it in your mouth and you go, and you can't breathe. Right. How much does your nervous system care about food in that moment?
Not as much as air.
Right. So it's like, it's not that they're not all important. It's just in that moment, that's a priority. And that's how this hierarchy works. So the next level of the hierarchy is love and belonging. Then it's the esteem needs. Then it's self-actualization or going for your goals and dreams and all of that stuff. Now, most of us in self-development start up there. We just go for our dreams, which is fine. Like me speaking was fine until it wasn't, until it was deemed unsafe. So now my body redirects all of its systems to make sure I'm going to be safe, and it fires the fight and flight response off. And I have to run away because I tried speaking 4 or 5 times and no noise came out of my mouth, and it starts getting embarrassing. So my flight kicked in and I was out of there, and that very nearly stopped me ever trying it again, because that was horrific experience. Really, it was so embarrassing. But yeah, I think it's purely that. It's just we are wired for safety, and what looks safe and isn't safe changes depending on how overwhelmed your nervous system is.
And I love how you normalize the realities and the different situations that we go through in society, because these are very common. And it's almost, it takes away the, oh God, is it me, or is it, am I the only one, or
Mm.
is this just a figment of my imagination? And, I want to talk more about how, what are some ways in which you help others really overcome these situations and take it to that level of greatness. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
We can take our own health into our own hands. Okay, so we'll kind of expand on that. So I take a lot of vitamins every day. Long before I started this business, my wife has had me taking my vitamin C, my B complexes, amino acids every single solitary day, and I still do, even though I still do IVs as well. But when you take vitamins orally, you get 15 to 20% of them. Some people get less because they have autoimmune issues. Some people have a lot of inflammation issues, whatever the case may be, so they don't get the absorption that they need to be getting. So they don't get their immune system built up. Doing the mobile IVs, I'm able to take your immune system, I'm able to naturally boost it.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Tim Neale. He's a breakthrough specialist. He's an empowerment guide and coach. We are talking about the path to self-healing. And Tim, I wanted to ask you, what if someone doesn't know what's holding them back? What does that mean?
They don't need to, right? Because they might not consciously know, but I don't deal with the conscious mind. I deal with the unconscious mind and the innate intelligence of the body. And we often say to people, we're going to teach you how to speak the language of your body, because the body knows everything. There's the book, the body keeps the score. It's a well-known phenomenon. It's scientifically known. It's like, but I think we all have an innate kind of knowing as well, that, and like people will say, like, I don't know what, I have no idea what it is. Right. And then you'll go and they'll say, oh, but I can feel it in my throat. So you'll go and release that energy in the throat, and all of a sudden they go, right, I know what it is now. Because part of that mechanism of keeping it safe is that it hides it from you. So again, once you pull the splinter out, you get access to a lot more information.
That pesky splinter, I tell you.
I know.
So how do you define self-empowerment, and what are ways in which you help clients to do so?
Well, like it says, self-empowerment. Like I said at the beginning, I think the biggest problem people have is they're disconnected from themselves. And you can't have power in something that's disconnected, So it's like when we connect people back to themselves to start to have a good relationship, because it's all about that relationship with yourself. I mean, how many people listening like talk badly to yourself, beat yourself up, let yourself down, talk about yourself negatively, have negative beliefs and everything, and like treat yourself in ways you would never dream of treating anybody else. I know that was me. And inside of that space, you have no power, but once you get that relationship sorted, and then you start to get people to see themselves for who they actually are, because we have a deep underlying belief, and that's each and every one of us is powerful beyond belief. It's just our incomplete stories, our trauma, our conditioning, and the story we tell ourselves about all of that and how we identify it that limit that power. Right? I've seen people just go from like, you just cannot believe the difference in people when you take that stuff out of the way. It's just incredible. And you don't need to teach them anything because they already know. They just don't know they know.
I love your story. One of the things that's part of it is that you're the co-founder of Rise and Shine. So I want to bring up a little information about that. And can we tell us a little bit about Rise and Shine? What does it mean to live your best life? And what are some of the elements that are part of what you bring to the table?
So Rise and Shine, the name's kind of like Rise started from our business coach, which was release internal self-limiting emotions. So we were called Rise. But then we were like, no, we teach people to shine like the beautiful souls they are. So it's about learning the tools to rise up so then you can shine and shine your light, give other people permission to shine. So it carries that on as well. The way we work with people is we love our best way of working is to take someone on a journey. So like one of our key products is called Be Who You Really Are, which is what it says on the tin. Is learning how to be your true, authentic self. So it's letting go of your disempowering past, reconnecting to your true self, designing an empowering future. So it's a 6-month journey of self-discovery, self-empowerment. We take you on this deep dive, learning how to regulate your nervous system, all the stuff we've been talking about, how to resolve pain from the past, and then to reinvent yourself. Because how to build your dream life and then create an identity that will go and automatically attract that life and allow that life in and empower you to live that life. We found working long term is much better because we have a lot of conditioning that gets caught up around, or a lot of learned behavior, a lot of habits and everything that keep the splinters in place and keep that safety while the splinters are there. So as soon as you start pulling them out, it's good to be around a supportive community, because then we can show you what to do with it to get you to the next level and the next level and the next level. And this never ends. I mean, we keep up leveling all the time as well. So it's a really interesting and exciting kind of journey to go on. We also, because that is a big time investment, because it's 6 months. And what we do, I can talk to you about it all day long. And I can explain it all day long, but until you actually taste it, it's very difficult to know the power of it. So we have a week course called 5 Days to Freedom, which is just a Zoom-based workshop, 1 hour each day, where you get lessons, guided visualizations, practical tips and tools, Q&As after each session, and a Facebook support group. And again, on that course, the 5 Days to Freedom is freedom from one thing that holds you back, just to give you the taste of what it's like to truly let go of something. That can be seriously powerful, because I left Tom's workshop with what we teach you in that week. And I spent 3 months and I cleared up over 30 things that had held me back in my life. And it absolutely transformed me to the point where my wife barely knew me at the end of it.
That's impressive, because I mean that you're highlighting how you've elevated and how you continue to grow. So the complexities that are part of this journey, what I like about what you're sharing is that the details, the attention to details, that there's no quick fix per se. And then of course, obviously you're in the UK, but that doesn't matter. You have the exponential reach, correct? So then you work with people from all areas, all corners of the globe, I would imagine.
Yeah. The most people in our community are from the States, to be honest. But we got people from the Netherlands, in France, in where else? Everyone from? A lot of people in the UK. So it's people from all over. And I've worked with people all over the world, and we do the vast majority of our work on Zoom. It's nice to be with somebody, to be honest. It's like, I like being in the presence of somebody I'm working with, but the vast majority of the people I work with, I'm not. And it works equally well, because again, I'm not doing it. I'm just teaching you and guiding you and mentoring you and supporting you until you get to the point where you can do it for yourself. And that's what I love about it, because it's a tool you've got forever, and once you've got it, like I worked with a young girl, a few years ago, and I taught her how to do the techniques. And then she lost a family member and rang me up and said, I don't know what to do. I was really sad and I've done that, but now I'm angry. What do I do? And I went, you do the same thing, darling. Do exactly the same thing. And let me know what happened afterwards. And she went, oh, I'm all good now. I just remember him with love. And it's once they've got that tool, and she's grown up an amazing young woman now because she's got those tools and doesn't get overwhelmed by anything, doesn't let anything get on top of her, because when you've got the tool, you've got the tool, and you never have to allow things to build up again.
That's incredible. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We've been talking about the path to self-healing. Our guest today, Tim Neale, he's an empowerment guide and coach. He's a breakthrough specialist. Tim, what is the best way for our viewers to find you?
So I've set up a little landing page for the show and for the tour I'm doing at the moment. So it's just rspod.uk. Or you can click on the QR code that you've been popping up in between things. And there's actually a landing page there that's got all the information to the courses, to our social medias, to contacting us and all that good stuff.
So then in addition to that, you've been a speaker, you continue to lend your voice. Where will we be able to hear you, or what have you got going on for 2024 going into 2025?
So I'm actually doing a podcast tour. So I've got about 10 other ones lined up so far. So I'll be doing those. I did 2 last week, 2 this week. But again, there's a podcast button on that link, and then you can just go and see all the previous ones I've done, and this show will be on there too.
And then in addition, we're going to bring up your website again, just so that our audience can see, and obviously for any upcoming dates, things that are coming up, that they can find information on your website, Rise and Shine.
Yeah, perfect. And there's also a bit on there, if anyone is looking for speakers, we're always looking to share our empowering message and to just let people know there's nothing wrong, there's nothing broken. There's just some patterns of information within us that just overwhelm our nervous system. And then our nervous system does exactly what it's designed to do, which is to try and keep us safe. It's no more complicated than that. But I do appreciate the way it shows up is complicated. But actually what's going on deep inside, which is the true cause of what's going on in the vast majority of people we've worked with over 1,600 people in the last 10 years. The vast majority of people, it's nothing other than just that overwhelm. When you learn to clear it out, it's incredible. I love talking about this stuff.
And it's such an encouraging message to leave our viewers. And I know we're running out of time. Tim Neale, thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from the UK. Appreciate your time and energy and the value that you bring to this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thanks for what you're doing to spread the good word too. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And of course, for all our viewers, you can find our website on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can certainly email us with any show episode ideas that you have. Upper left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see our QR code. If that's easier for you to grab, please feel free to do so. And then, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday, you can always find us here on E360 TV on the Achieve TV channel, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is all the time that we have. Until next time, take care of yourselves. See you soon.